Now, it takes two to tango.
Yes.
In this case, you have the service providers and you have the consumers. Now, it may be justifiable for the service provider because they want to improve efficiency. We have to introduce that.
Yes.
Have we thought about the consumers?
Yes.
Now, who has sanctioned the service providers all the years when the ATMs were ineffective and the consumers were bearing the brunt?
Yes.
And nobody sanctioned them. Then the next one now is to introduce this fee. So my worry is, did we consider the consumers that will have to pay?
Yes, I don't think the CBN just woke up to, release this increase. I think they must have done that in consultation with the banks. You see, as far as this ATM operation is concerned, okay, the banks are the ones that wear the shoes, so they know where, it is pinching. So I also think it's largely in response to that. Yes, I agree with you. One of the implications, of course, is that it will increase the cost of withdrawals on the part of consumers. But I also told you what are these options. If you make the ATMs more efficient, okay, if consumers can now access ATMs, if banks can now deploy these ATMs in many locations, which is also when I'll be speaking to the responsibility of the central bank in this regard, maybe advising the central bank, one of the things I will be saying, okay, which I'm saying upfront, is that the central bank should now ensure that banks now deploy these ATMs, okay, on the part of the central bank too, to also ensure that these ATMs are loaded with cash, so that you don't go to an ATM and it tells you unable to dispense cash. So banks should also be meant to have this cash by the central bank to be able to load the ATMs. So there is no doubt that, as I said, it will on the part of withdrawals it will increase. But I also said the issue of withdrawing from your bank's ATM, is still free. So what that means is that you will now expect a customer, okay, a bank customer, to rely more on his bank's ATM, than going to other ATMs, particularly when those ATMs are off-site, when they're outside the bank's premises. Of course, that's where you now have the issue of 100 naira pay per 20,000 naira, in addition to a surcharge. Okay, so the best way to circumvent that is to use your bank's ATM. As I said earlier on, if you compare that again with what you pay if you pay withdrawal, maybe 10,000 naira withdrawal from a typical POS, okay, it's still not, it's still low. But what is important is that the banks should now leverage this and improve on their services with respect to, ATM.
And this policy aims to reduce the reliance on cash and encourage the use of electronic payment channels. However, this could indirectly, enable POS operators, like you said, who are largely unregulated, to hike charges and exploit vulnerable Nigerians. Won't this be counterproductive?
No, not necessarily. If, as a matter of fact, I think the argument is even the reverse. Because if you have ATMs that are functional, okay, the competition will now be there, okay, as opposed to having very little options, going to the POS to withdraw cash when you need cash. Okay, the ATMs are there. So it will now compel the POS operators to even reduce their charges. So that's the way I figure it. Okay, if you look at the impact of this non-functional ATMs on the economy is huge, particularly on the SMEs. Okay, SMEs that you and I know that are cash-based. Okay, and it also has a way of eroding confidence in the banking sector. If you go to an ATM and you get disenchanted, you're not getting money, the next thing to do is, of course, to keep your cash at home. So you're not thinking of taking your cash to the bank because you feel anytime you go to ATMs to withdraw, unlike what happens abroad, you won't be able to get the money. So the point I'm making is that it will foster competition. Okay, you have very other options, payment channels. And again, indirectly, even though it's not one of the primary reasons, the circular didn't say it's one of the primary reasons, indirectly it will also encourage, mobile banking, internet banking, other options, electronic banking, again, in a way, also promoting the cashless policy. So I see a lot of merits in what has happened, and I also want to approach it from that point of view. The bottom line for me is efficiency. The bottom line for me is having functional ATMs.
Okay. My argument now is that we still have a huge percentage of Nigerians that don't operate within the banking framework.
Yes.
Now, if you have this system that is increasing charges on whatever transaction they do you think it will encourage them to take more of their monies into the bank or keep their monies at home? So at the end of the day, we are not promoting the cashless society we think we want to promote because we're discouraging people from depositing their monies in the bank. Don't you think so?
Well, it's also important, very closely tied to the question you asked. It's also important to recognize that the central bank has also released a guide with respect to bank charges. Okay? It's also speaking to the question you asked me earlier, bank charges generally. So it's important for the public to be aware of these bank charges and to ensure that anytime a bank is charging them something outside of the framework of those guidelines, they have a right, to complain. Okay, take for example, even in the case of deposits, you deposit money in a bank. How many Nigerians know that current accounts, often you hear oftentimes that current accounts don't attract interest. How many Nigerians know that even current accounts attract interest? Okay, if you look at that guidelines, it says the interest is negotiable. Okay, and the negotiable, the negotiability, if you like, is at the instance of the customer. That's what the guideline says. So what it means is that if you have a current account and the current account is in credit, you have money there. If you don't go to discuss with your bank and say, let's talk, I need some interest, they won't do anything. So because the Nigerians need to be aware, of that. In the case of savings, for example, you have a savings account. The thing is there that the minimum interest you should get on your savings account should be 30% of the monetary policy rate. Today, monetary policy rate is 27.5. Okay, so what it means is that if you have money in the bank, the minimum interest you should have is 8.5, and it says minimum. Minimum. So it also means that you can get something higher. A lot of Nigerians again don't know. That they're not aware of this thing. So
I'd like you to hold your thoughts because we have to take this quick commercial now.